Hey, how you doing guys? ZDEyE here. So today I wanted to go over some of the questions and answers regarding Ghost of Tsushima. If you guys did not know, PlayStation Blog as of recently published just basically answers all the questions that a lot of people had on the Ghost of Tsushima, but unfortunately it was overshadowed since the announcement of the reveal will be happening for the PlayStation 5 event and 4th of June. So obviously a lot of things are not going to be, would have missed out upon with the confirmations and also extra things that you perhaps should expect from the game. So anyway, let's just get into these. Are there different types of weapons apart from the sword, like axes and spears? And Jason Connell, he answers, Jin's katana is like family heirloom and will be with him from the beginning to the end. As a lethal samurai, this is his main weapon in fighting against the invaders. The Sakai blade is something that will grow with Jin throughout his journey. As Jin grows into becoming his feared samurai warrior known as the Ghost, so too will some of his abilities and the tactics. Learn to use a bow for picking off enemies at a distance or use a throwable kunai and smoke bombs at close proximity. We won't share all these abilities before launch, we'd like to have something for the players to discover. Okay, so in short, just my summarization anyway, that's kind of expected. In fact, I'm kind of surprised why would anyone actually want to answer this, ask this question. What? This is samurai era. Obviously, usually samurai, they will be using mainly the katana. Ghost, Jin himself, is a different example. Even though he is still going to be using a katana, but he's going to be doing it differently as well. Remember the equipment and stuff that he could be using, and yes, and bow and arrow as well. And so we continue anyway. In the GIF, Jin's playing a flute, so I automatically assume that's something you can do while you're on your travels, right? And Nate Fox actually answers, you can play the flute whenever you like. It's the perfect way to create a scenery moment and take in the view. And that's actually very nice. Seems like you can actually have a choice on that making. And in fact, I kind of already knew that, since if we actually do take a look at that flute moment, you can see like a game that's been saved at the very same time. And so that kind of gave me all the answers already that I needed about this moment, that yes, this specific individual just went up this mountain, this hill, and started playing the flute and so we can take in all of the view of the Tsushima. At what point did you guys come up with the wind as a guiding mechanics? It's really unique and gorgeous, but I'm sure it didn't come easily. And Jason answers, fortunately for us, one of the early start direction goals was to incorporate wind and a sense of movement into everything possible. And both had historical connections as well as film reference overlap. A couple years into the production, the game started to look stunning, and we wanted to create a way to keep people in the world. Since we had achieved those early at art goals and the wind was visually striking, we decided to see if it could actually point you to a new location. It totally worked. We refined it as a bunch since then and expanded on it as an exploration tool. Not only bring you to your next tracked location or objective, but also to help you find hidden collectibles if desired. And that's actually a very nice touch. I didn't really expect this kind of a mechanic to be working so fluently, and I actually did expect it to be somewhat of a difficult approach or maybe a design on their part. But the idea was actually one of the first idea creatives in this game, and that's pretty incredible. A big props to them, it's an incredible job and looks fantastic and actually very innovative in my opinion. Does choosing to fight like a samurai or like a ghost ninja have consequences? Was thinking it might be like a good and evil karma system, and of course that's been referenced from the infamous games. And Nate answers, there's no karma system. There's one story we're telling here, one journey for Jin. As for the players making a choice, we want to be clear that there isn't a binary choice for the player. It's more about the player having freedom to play through any encounter in the style they prefer and wearing whichever armor they prefer, mixing and matching pieces of a different armor sets. Your actions also aren't limited by your armor. For example, you may have seen that the standoff prompt appeared even in the gold section. You can still use tools like smoke bombs even if you're wearing samurai armor. As we showed in State of Play, that one scenario with the shipyard played out very differently based on how the player approached the situation. Jin begins the samurai, strong in sword combat. As he develops more ways of fighting, he comes to be known as the Ghost, but he never loses his skills with his sword. This is a story of a Jin growing to become a new kind of a warrior, who uses every weapon he has to save his home, no matter what you prefer means of attack, be it sword or stealth. The legend of the Ghost will grow. Okay, well, a lot of people can, not get this correctly when they say, for example, different weaponries. No, it does not necessarily mean you could be using an axe. This actually been clarified in the very beginning of the question, the very first questions. And yeah, that makes sense. I found this out after making my big breakdown video on the Ghost of Tsushima gameplay, my giant breakdown anyway, and I kind of already knew, and since then as well there has been other interviews regarding this case as well, so obviously I already kind of knew about this. A lot of people perhaps do not know this, so well, now you do. Okay, will there be a day and night cycle and dynamic weather? And Jason says yes to both. There are dynamic weather conditions that you will experience throughout your adventures in Tsushima. Some of them are tied to specific regions to give more flavor and personality to them, while others are tied to story moments. Along with the weather, we also have full day and night cycle. And that's pretty neat. I did not really expect it to see otherwise. I definitely did expect it to have some kind of a day-night cycle, and yes, obviously the dynamic weather effects as well. Since it's gonna be raining, very windy situations, and yes, snow I assume as well, and of course that's gonna be exciting to see how everything will play out. Is there a difficulty slider for those of us that want more challenging experiences? If so, are enemies more aggressive at higher difficulty levels, or do they simply have larger health bars? And Nate answers, the game does feature 3 levels of difficulties: easy, normal, and hard. On hard, the game is fair, but very challenging. Are more aggressive, and players must be precise to pull off extraordinary moves. By comparison, easy is for the players who want to explore the island, enjoy the story, and still be occasionally tested by a worthy opponent. No matter which difficulty player chooses, we never increase the health of enemies. This is to maintain the lethality of the Katana. Our combat is all about the player's skills. Very nice. I did definitely kind of was worried about saying oh my god, are the enemies gonna be like a spongy, and so we're gonna have to keep on slashing them away until we actually finally be able to kill them. But no, it seems like it's gonna be a lot more thoughtful of a challenge, and that's nice. Will enemies be more aggressive in the final game compared to what has been shown? Nate answers, some have watched the State of Play footage and concluded that Ghost of Tsushima is an easy game, which isn't the case. Combat is designed to be lethal both ways, not just for the player versus enemies. Jin foes can definitely take him out quickly too. The gameplay we showed was captured by one of the test leads on the Ghost. He is very skilled with the katana. Plus, Jin has some of the abilities unlocked that he doesn't begin the game with. We want to show what combat can look like when the player has mastered the controls and the abilities. When Jin at his best. We think most will find the combat satisfyingly challenging. Now that's nice, because again, I would like to see kind of a how hard would it be as well, and easy, obviously it's not exactly the same thing, and like aggressiveness of these NPCs and these enemies, because I actually am thinking about playing this game on a hard difficulty and seeing what kind of a challenge would it be. Will it be similar status like a Sekiro game as an example, or would it go a little bit too toned down? I don't know, that would be very interesting to find out. Fantastic gameplay, however, could you perhaps look at changing the physics of an arrow headshot? The backwards force was a tad unrealistic and over the top, otherwise an excellent demonstration. Nate answers, this is something we've seen a lot of users comment on. You may have noticed that Jin uses 2 different bows in our demo. The half bow is the samurai portion, and the long bow is the ghost portion. The long bow packs a much heavier punch, and has the power to knock enemies back, as you saw in the State of Play. Perhaps I should also give a little bit of another reference, because we actually saw heavy arrows being used on a long bow. So obviously it's going to be a much far heavier kind of attack and more of a punch he will have. Well, penetration power. But still, I actually did not know about this, that half a bow is concentrated for samurai portion, but longbow for the ghost portion. Maybe it's just the way it was presented here, but Jin, no matter what he wears or how he goes about, he still has a choice and the option, whatever bow that he likes to use. Are there villagers or towns, side missions, content beside the main story? Personally, I think it's a stupid question to ask, but yes, Nate answers. Jin's transformation from samurai into the ghost is the main story of the game, but while on that journey, he'll run into a number of other characters with stories of their own. If players chooses, they can dive deep into these side stories, forging a tighter bond with other brave people fighting to save their home. Not only do these stories provide a greater perspective on the evasion, but they offer some of the best rewards in the game. While traveling, Jin will come upon a number of towns which are full of the vendors and the opportunities to find more side stories. Very nice. Kind of expected thing, not too sure who would even ask this kind of question. Well, yeah, there are some people out there don't understand the simplistic term of an open world game. Will it feature different endings based on the fighting styles the player uses, more often samurai or ghost? Nate answers, the game tells us a human story about Jin's sacrifice to becoming the ghost. Players can choose to primarily fight with a sword, bow, or stealth. Either way, Jin becomes a legend to the people of Tsushima and terror to the Mongols invaders. Again, people may not understand this as well when it's been referenced as that the story about Jin's sacrifice to becoming the ghost does not necessarily mean that he's going to die at the end. No, basically it's just a term of explaining this, how the story is going to be evolved. Okay, well, this is actually nice. I personally think one concentrated path in the storytelling is far better than having diversities. But again, we have to understand that diversities isn't exactly a bad thing either, like The Witcher 3 has been done as an example. But again, I would rather be going with the one storyline telling. Again, that's just a personal opinion. I'm sure a lot of people would have had a different preference. Now, next question, how long is the game? Now that's a big one. Coming from Nate, he answers, always a hard, impossible question to answer for an open world game. Players should expect a scope that's markedly larger than our previous work for certain. If you're type who'll occasionally get distracted by something in the distance or nearby commotion, you're going to find a world you can get lost in and spend dozens of hours within. There are also players who really only want to focus on the main story, and they can certainly play and enjoy the game a ton, though they'll get to the end of the story a bit faster. Let's put it another way. Most of our player testers would spend a full week on a ghost and not finish the storyline. We know everyone wants a number, but we are confident to say that if you want a satisfying story in a big content-rich world with lots of to do and to see and lots of characters to get to know, you'll find what you're looking for in Ghost of Tsushima. I guess he kind of dodges the question, but obviously he wouldn't really want to answer it, at least not yet. And it might be a little bit too early for them to say, at least, at the moment. But again, I actually think that they have an estimate of how long this may take. Maybe not to disappoint anyone, maybe not to say like, oh my god, it's gonna be 50 hours. What the hell am I gonna get the 50 hours of my time to play and finish this game? Are you crazy? Why couldn't this game be 20 hours experience? There are people like that too. And again, I don't care how big or small it is, as long as the content rich in terms of the quality, then I'm happy. As yes, that's including also the storytelling too. So what happens when you hit L2 plus R2? What are the circles in the life bar? Nate, he answers, the circles are Jin's resolve, which he uses to heal or to perform his most intense attacks. Players will have to make the tough tactical choices between healing or landing a crucial strike, basically kind of a similar tactic of a Spider-Man game. And actually I already knew this since it was actually an interview as well. It's been answered, this question, and it makes sense, I personally think. Can you swim to those boats in the water? And Nate answers, Jin gets around to Tsushima in his trusty horse and his own two legs. He can't swim out to the boats and start sailing on them. So what does this mean? Does this mean like it's possible that Jin does not know how to swim, or it doesn't necessarily mean that he can go out there and swim to those boats? Maybe he can swim, but he cannot get on those boats. I don't know. We will have to wait and see for that. Can you chop people's heads off or cut them off in half? And Nate answers, players won't be able to target specific body parts. Makes sense. Jin's goal is just to dispatch his enemies as quickly as possible with the whatever means available. Our motto for Ghost combat is mud, blood, and steel. It's greedy, visceral, and above all, lethal. It doesn't take many slashes with a katana to kill an enemy. It's just like it doesn't take many hits from Mongol's swords to kill Jin. It's a challenging environment to stay alive in. Use every weapon you have. Again, that doesn't necessarily give us an answer either. But we have actually seen like a hand literally being, disconnected. And anyway, our side quests unique and offer essential rewards. And Jason actually answers, Ghost of Tsushima is a story-driven open-world game. An anthology of the stories surrounds Jin's main story in the form of the side tales. Some of these are brief and some wrap Jin up in interesting characters, giving players an opportunity to learn about his island and his new friends. We want to reward players for exploring the open world of Tsushima, so all the content outside of the main story offers a variety of rewards. It could be collectibles, resources, or charms, like we've shown in our State of Play video. There are even few side missions that offer set of armor as the rewards. Very nice. Kind of expected, and yes, that's very nice indeed. Now, will the swords have stats and the abilities? Jason answers, Jin's katana is incredibly important to him. It's also his main weapon of choice from the beginning to the end of the game. There are always ways to improve this weapon, both the stats and the appearance. Doesn't necessarily tell us that he can upgrade, but the appearance, that's kind of a given, since he could put like a charm at the hilt of that weapon as an example, and make it a little bit more unique. Now, we do not know about the colors of the hilt of the katana, but it's very possible that it will be possible too. Now, will we be able to dual wield both swords at the same time while attacking? Nate answers no, and that was pretty obvious. Jin was trained to fight with a single sword in a traditional style, but when Mongols invaded, he often finds himself radically outnumbered. To even the odds, he begins to use thrown weapons in the middle of the fight, mixing ranged and close quarters attacks with deadly results. Okay, well that's just, again, samurai really dual wielding? No, that doesn't work like that. I don't understand why people even ask these questions. Will we have the same horse throughout the game, or will there be different horses? Jason answers, Jin's partner in this journey is his horse. Early in the game, there is an opportunity to choose the horse you want to go on this adventure with. Pretty unique. And also, by the way, if you guys did not know, your horse does not die. Do the armor sets consist of different pieces, meaning can we mix and match different pieces of headgear, torso, and etc., or is just one set you can equip on Jin? Jason answers yes. In a State of Play video we showed interchanging different helmets and body elements of the armor. Also, no one tweeted these exact questions with the hashtag AskSuckerPunch. Right, we saw a bit of a confusion around these points, so we decided to ask Sucker Punch ourselves. Interesting, this is a bit of a clarification. In Ghost, can you play as another character other than Jin? Nate answers, no, Jin is the hero of the story. Players are there each step of the way, guiding Jin as he transforms from an honorable samurai he was brought up to be into the ghost that Tsushima needs him to become. Are you able to hunt animals for the materials and crafting? Jason answers, while there are unique animals in Tsushima that are there to help guide Jin to his adventures, there are also few predators that will be aggressive, that we've seen with the bears as an example. Upgrade resources can be collected from these specific animals once defeated. Before we actually got this sort of information, and was said that we would not get anything as such as like the materials and the resources from the animals. I guess it would be a different situation if we are talking about a predator. That's pretty, always good to know about this sort of information. So yes, this was all the questions and answers that were regarding Ghost of Tsushima. There was plenty of things to go over. Plenty of things, damn. Alright then, well, I will let you go now, guys. Thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe. See you guys all later, and have a wonderful day.